This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Hope all of the faithful is having a fantastic week. Another loaded show on tap for you today. Going to take a look at some updated 49ers cut candidates following the Packers preseason game going into week 2 of the preseason. First, though, today's show sponsored by Mint Mobile. Back last weekend, we saw that Trey Lance has that long deep ball. It's absolutely lethal. So too are Mint Mobile cell phone plans, which start as low as $15 per month on America's largest 5G network. Just like Trey Lance can seemingly throw that deep ball from coast to coast, Mint Mobile and their largest 5G network also spans coast to coast so that your cell phone service never dies out. MintMobile.com/chatsports. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video so that you can start saving money today. Updated Niners cut candidates. Let's get to this list. Really excited to really go through all of these players because I believe that they're kind of on the roster bubble. We begin with Trey Sermon, the running back, was RB1 against the Green Bay Packers because Elijah Mitchell did not partake in that game, but didn't do a lot to impress. Had 6 carries, ran for just 11 yards, and my big problem with Trey Sermon, he looks the part. He looks big and physical. And in these offseason workouts, when he's putting in that work and grinding alongside Dalvin Cook, you're thinking that Trey Sermon is on the verge of having a really big 2022 campaign, but he just dances way too often in the backfield and doesn't hit the hole. And we know that in Kyle Shanahan's outside zone scheme, you have to identify the hole, hit the hole so that you can matriculate down the field and get this offense moving. But Trey Sermon, he's just way too patient in that backfield. That's why Elijah Mitchell had success last year as a rookie. That's why I'm excited about Ty Davis-Price when I watch the film, because they're quick to diagnose where the holes are created by the offensive line. And right now, this is my running back pecking order. And I'm going to be fascinated to see how many backs that Kyle Shanahan has on this 53-man roster. San Francisco cutting down the roster to 85 players this week. Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Ty Davis-Price. I think the Trey Sermon is RB4 right now behind those 3 aforementioned players. JaMychal Hasty is RB5. Then Jordan Mason, he's impressing a lot of people. I expect him to get a lot more action in these second and third preseason games, and maybe he'll be able to crack this roster. So the big question is Trey Sermon on the hot seat. I believe somewhat he is. How many backs does Kyle Shanahan want on the initial 53? If it's 5, if it's 6, one guy could be on the outside looking in. As for Sermon and the financial implications, if he were to get cut, dead cap hit charge of a little less than $700,000. And I think that nowadays in the NFL, running backs are easy to find. You don't want to pay a massive price tag to a running back because they're easy to identify and find in the NFL draft. And my team building philosophy, oftentimes you don't want to sign a running back to a second contract for all the reasons that I talked about, especially in this offense. So, faithful, I want to hear from you in the comment section. What should the Niners do with Trey Sermon, and what do you think is going to happen? K for keep, C for cut. Let me know and be the general manager in the comment section right now. Cut candidate number 2, one of the free agent acquisitions for this football team, and Hassan Ridgeway. Been a little bit underwhelming so far in training camp as well as in the preseason, dealing with the quadriceps injury, and for him, not big of a financial hit if he were to be let go, a $1 million dead cap hit charge if the Niners do decide to release him prior to opening day. And we know that the Niners do like to go with that NASCAR package along that defensive line. What does that mean? Last year we saw it with Arden Key, Eric Armstead, traditional edge rushers who then pivot to the interior of this defensive line, play a little bit of defensive tackle, especially on some of those passing downs, to take advantage of advantages that you can get along those trenches to pick apart some of those mismatches so that you can use those edge rushers who are more leaner and a little bit faster to go up against some of the beefier interior offensive linemen. So because of that, you can get away with maybe not having as many defensive tackles on this roster and have more edge rushers on the front. And then that would allow you to really absorb the loss of Hassan Ridgeway if you wanted to move in that direction. Before we continue to get some more Niners cut candidates, real one roll call. If you're a real one and you're subscribed to the 49ers Report, I want to hear from you right now. Type real one in the comment section. We greatly appreciate all of your support as always. And if you haven't subscribed, do so right now. Why should you hit that red sub button? Well, we're less than 100 people away from 61,000 subscribers. We bring you breaking news, analysis, news and rumors, and free daily videos, live shows every week, watch parties, and podcasts where you can call into the show like we'll be doing this week after the Vikings game. YouTube.com/49erstv. And if you are a real one, why not get yourself some Real One merchandise available and on sale right now if you utilize that link at the bottom of your screen, chatsports.com/Real149. Shirts available in red and black, and if you order one, take a picture of you rocking it. We'll get you featured on the 49ers Report, the largest Niners news and rumors channel right here on YouTube. Another obvious cut candidate, this time it's Jimmy Garoppolo. If he's not traded by August 30th, roster cut down day, in which all teams across the NFL have to trim those rosters to 53 players, he'll likely be cut. Why is that? Because if he's on the roster week 1, he's guaranteed his $24.2 million base salary for 2022 and has the play of Brock Purdy in the preseason opener against the Packers, as well as that long ball that we saw from Nate Sudfeld to Ray McLeod. Ray, elite hair, by the way. Has the play of those backup quarterbacks alleviated the concerns about not having a viable backup quarterback for Trey Lance? I think so, because Sudfeld performed well, so too did Brock Purdy, the latter of which really impressed me as the final pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. And of course, when it comes down to Jimmy G, whether or not the Niners can or will trade him, it comes down to the pending Deshaun Watson legal situation. If Watson is suspended longer than the current 6 games that he's currently allotted to, then the Browns trading for Garoppolo makes a lot of sense, because I don't believe that they're going to move forward with Jacoby Brissett. More on Brock Purdy. I was really impressed by how he played. You look at the numbers, and he didn't put up crazy numbers, but helped maneuver that 11-play, 69-yard scoring drive to put the Niners back on top, which ended up being the game-winning drive. And can Purdy force Kyle Shanahan to keep 3 quarterbacks on this 53-man roster? And if that's the case, and it's Lance, Sudfeld, Purdy, by the way, I think does have an opportunity to maybe seize that quarterback 2 position, then Garoppolo's not going to be on this team. As for what Purdy did against Green Bay, the numbers really just solid, 36 yards passing through the air, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, but the quarterback rollout in which he threw the touchdown, and then the 2-point conversion on that back corner ball to Keyshawn Johnson, those were well-placed footballs, and he displayed some pretty good athleticism, and I love to see him fired up after that go-ahead score. So what do you think will happen with Jimmy Garoppolo? Predict it for me. This has been one of the big questions of the entire offseason, so I do value your responses down below. C for cut, T for trade, or 49 for he goes back to the 49ers. More cut candidates coming up in just a few moments. First, though, today's sponsor is Mint Mobile. If you go to mintmobile.com/chatsports, you can start saving money today. Unlimited premium wireless plans starting as low as $15 per month. That's right, as low as $15 per month. And what's cool about Mint Mobile, there's a lot of great advantages to this service. Your service will switch seamlessly between 5G and 4G LTE, whichever is strongest. They have these digital eSIM cards, so you don't have to waste your time going to a store. You can get set up all from the comfort of your new home or your own home. You don't have to get a new physical cell phone or a new cell phone number. Unlimited talk and text, and it's living, hanging out, kicking it on America's largest 5G network. And also, it's a cell phone company owned by the famous actor Ryan Reynolds. MintMobile.com/chatsports. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. More cut candidates, and more so, these are cornerbacks who are currently on the hot seat. Ambry Thomas, Deommodore Lenoir, Tariq Castro-Fields, and Kadar Holman. Now, a couple of these players I just want to touch on briefly. Ambry Thomas, I don't think he's going to get cut as a former third-round pick who certainly flashed in the final month of the regular season in 2021 and was a key piece during that Niners playoff run, even though he sat out against the Green Bay Packers because of injury in that divisional round. But because he's a third-round pick and he's flash potential, I don't think he's going to get let go, but certainly he has been underwhelming. So too is Deommodore Lenoir, who was taken in that same draft class out of Oregon, a late-round pick who did have the inside track at maybe securing that nickel role, but As of now, looks to be Samuel Womack after the release of Darqueze Dennard, but Deommodore Lenoir, no question, has to play better. There's some pressure on him against the Minnesota Vikings on Saturday night. Tariq Castro-Fields, another late-round rookie out of Penn State. I like the speed, 4'3" guy, but just haven't been able to see much from him. And Kadar Holman got beaten coverage a couple of times, gashed for some big plays, an NFL journeyman who is not going to crack this roster. There's also this as part of the equation. Remember Jason Verrett, and remember that San Francisco brought him back on a one-year deal, and remember that in 2020, this guy was really good before going down with that torn ACL in Week 1 against the Detroit Lions to kick off the season last year. He will most likely take up a roster spot, but when is the big question here? Will he open the season on PUP because we're not yet to the calendar year mark of when he suffered that torn ACL? I think that is in play, and if he starts the season on PUP, it opens up another roster spot for one of the cornerbacks fighting for one of those roster positions. Kemoko Turay, a free agent acquisition who at the time I was really excited about because a former 3rd or 4th round pick out of Rutgers has flashed while with the Indianapolis Colts, is a really good athlete but doesn't have great bend coming around the edge, and because of that has lacked consistent pressure from that edge roll. San Francisco has one of the deepest defensive lines in the NFL, so the cuts to get down to 53 are going to be very, very difficult to make. Now, I don't envision the Niners cutting him, but he certainly needs to play better, and this is a big preseason game for him to prove that the Niners signing him in free agency was a quality deal for this organization. Last year, 13 games played, 5.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 8 quarterback hits, and 1 forced fumble. That right there, the numbers that you see, pretty good numbers for Kemoko Turay, but it hasn't necessarily translated to the football field during training camp and in the preseason. I will say this, though. With guys like Arden Key and Charles Omenihu, we've seen them get off to slow starts because this defensive scheme sometimes is hard to master. And while Chris Kocurek is the best defensive line coach in the league, and he's done wonders in developing defensive linemen throughout his tenure in the Bay Area, it does take a little while for these edge rushers and defensive linemen to find their footing and be consistent pass rushers. So I do expect Kemoko Turay to kind of round the corner a little bit, but up to this point, he's opening himself up to maybe get let go, and his roster financial hit would only be about $1 million as well. Before we hop on out of here for this particular segment, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Which player's seat is the hottest? It can be the players that we discussed on today's show or a different player. Either way, drop me a name in the comment section right now.